Hey, this is AJ. Welcome back to the Handyman process. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the importance of categorizing your transactions to make taxes at the end of the year a lot easier. I've come up with some animations. I'm going to kind of walk through backwards planning a little bit from what the tax forms you have to fill out at the end of the year are. And trust me, I'm going to keep it simple and high level. I'm not going to bore you to death. And then walk it back to why you should use a system. In my case, I use Novo to manage the expenses going forward. So stay tuned. All right, so let's get started. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to walk through and explain, um, kind of walking backwards from the final tax document, the 1040 you fill out, to the Schedule C, which feeds into the 1040, and then finally work my way back to Novo and how it's all connected. So let me escape out of that for a second. It's probably easier if I just zoom in here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, and hopefully you can see this all right. I'm going to zoom into the 1040, which is just an IRS form, and there's a link down here in the bottom. Hopefully you can see. But on your 1040, if you're like me, you have a W-2 job, so you're reporting income from your W-2 job, and then you have this line 8, which is other income. This other income can come from multiple sources, but keeping with the handyman theme, I'm going to make the assumption that you are a single member LLC or even a single member sole proprietor. So your income for your business will be reported on line 8 of the final tax form, the 1040. But this is a buildup of other forms. So if I trace this back, line 8 comes from, in this case, Schedule C, line 31. And let me zoom out here a little bit, and then we'll zoom into Schedule C. So Schedule C is really nothing more than profit and loss from your business. You can have multiple businesses, so you'll have multiple Schedule Cs. If you've ever done taxes before, whoever does your taxes should be able to walk through, because they have to fill this out. Essentially, they fill this out for any business you have, and it flows over there. But what's on your Schedule C is a combination of the income that came in minus the expenses that you had. So I'm going to walk through a little bit about how Novo, the banking system and bookkeeping system that I use, helps me with this whole process. So in terms of gross income, it's pretty straightforward. In Novo, I can categorize all the income that comes in, and you'll see that in the demonstration here shortly. But as you go down here, you spend more of your time in the expenses. Where did I spend my money? You can try to figure this out after the fact at the end of the year, or you could be cognizant of it during the year and um, use the Novo system to track it. So as I slide a little further over, so first of all, in the expense area, you'll see there's different categories. These are IRS defined categories for advertising expenses, categories for car and truck expenses, categories for contract labor. You can see all the different categories. The good news is, as a handyman, you're not going to use all these. You're only going to have a handful of them. In my case, my expenses the majority of them sit in cost of goods sold, which is actually a separate worksheet that comes to fill in the spot over here. But then you also have advertising. I have insurance expenses, and a few others that kind of get rolled up into here. But as I scroll back over to Novo, as I go through Novo, and as I have an expense or income coming in, I just go into the categories and I select what I want. So in case of advertising and marketing, I come in, I select advertising and marketing, and I just put it in this bucket at the end of the year. I basically see how many things that I put in that category, and here's a sum, and I just go right there. Same thing for cost of goods sold. The majority of my stuff is cost of goods sold. So I'm labeling most of everything as materials and supplies. So as I label it as materials and supplies at the end of the year, I can essentially just roll that stuff up. It goes to the cost of goods sold. This arrow should actually be up a little further. It just goes to line 4 here of cost of goods sold. So now I have income minus cost of goods sold. Then as I scroll a little further down, another example would be contract labor. So I did have some 1099 folks. So whatever I paid out to those folks, again, I go in, I do a summary of my subcontractor expenses. I just put it in this category. And it's as simple as that. At the end of the year, you're just going in and doing these types of things. There's much better videos in explaining what the Schedule C is, but from a handyman perspective, that's about it. So now I'm going to give you a quick example of what it looks like in the app. So stay tuned. I'll put a video up here kind of explaining what that looks like. So thanks. All right, so now that we got some of the basics out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put up a video up here, just kind of scrolling through some of the different categories that are available within the Novo app. So as I'm scrolling through there, you'll see that some of these are direct correlation over to that Schedule C. So from your business perspective, maybe you have different types of expenses than I do, but like I said, most of them, if you're a handyman, cost of goods sold, advertising, office expenses, so you can kind of go through there, pick and choose what works for you. If you so when it comes to vehicles, there's a big difference between vehicles, and I have a separate video on that. But you're either tracking mileage or you're tracking every expense. So if you're tracking every expense with vehicles, you can use the app to categorize it. If you're tracking mileage, then I would recommend you use a mileage app to track that, because somewhere in the Schedule C there will be the vehicle expenses, and it's a sum of either one of those. It's either a sum of all the miles times the mileage rate, or it's a sum of the actual vehicle expenses kind of going forward. All right, so now I'll put in another video up here walking through in real time the Novo app and how I'm actually doing it in there. So stay tuned. Okay. So now that I have the Novo app open, I'm on the activity tab. I can see all the transactions that have come into my bank account as far back as I've been using Novo. So to give a demonstration, you can see all of the different expenses and basically any money coming in and any money going out that's happened in my account. And I use this exclusively for business, and so the only transactions are money coming in and money going out for my business. And if I click on a particular transaction, so I'll take this Lowe's transaction for $116. So I go to Lowe's quite a bit. And as you can see all the details associated with the transaction, the date, in terms of paying for what reserve. I won't get into this too much, but I use the profit first system. But the big focus of this video is talking about the category. So if I click on the category, you'll see the categories that I was showing in the previous example start to pop up here. So 90% of my expenses that go out are related to cost of goods sold, or COGS. So I come down here to the cost of goods sold. I hit materials and supplies. I'll just hit only for this transaction. Now I've automatically, or not automatically, but I've applied it to the cost of goods sold expense category, which will directly flow over to that area on the Schedule C that I was demonstrated before. So you have that habit of doing this on a daily basis, weekly basis, whatever it may be, then at the end of the year, it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple to figure out your taxes. So you could do the same thing, not only for expenses, but for any income coming in. So for instance, I got paid the other day by check. So as the check came in, I just wrote a quick note that it was for invoice 219. I went to the category, and when money comes in, the categories change a little bit because they're associated with income. So in this case, I just go to the revenue button, hit the sales button, only this transaction. Now I've categorized this for revenue. And you might have noticed on the Schedule C that there is a line for income, basically gross revenue before you take out all the expenses. Another nice feature about this is, I'll come back and I'll demonstrate it on the expense here, is I can pull up the actual receipt, or not pull it up, but attach it. So the great thing about Novo is not only the categorization that I'm demonstrating and paying from reserves in terms of managing your money, but also that you could just drop the receipt in here. So as soon as I went shopping, I just opened up my email, copy the receipt, put it in here. Now I have a full audit trail. I can trace everything back. What did I buy? How did I categorize it? And that's it. So this is one of the great things about Novo, and it's really works out pretty well for me. So I recommend that you check it out if you haven't tried it already. It's free. There's no sign up cost associated with it. In fact, if you do sign up, you'll get $40 in your account if you use the link that I provide below. And just in full disclosure, I'll get $40 as well. That's why one of the reasons I promote this is we both win if we use this system, and it just works. I truly enjoy it. And if you don't like it, then get rid of it, But if you do like it, I'm telling you, when it comes time to figure out taxes, it makes this such a breeze. Thanks. Back to you, AJ.
So thanks for watching. Hopefully you got something out of this. I know I kind of ran through it fairly quickly, but I wanted to kind of give you the gist of how these things are connected. So if you get any value out of this, please go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to give Novo a try, I'm going to put down in the comments or the description section a referral link. I don't make any money on YouTube, at least not yet. I'm probably years away from that. I do make a little bit of money if you do use Novo. I make $40, but you make $40 as well. It's Novo doesn't really have any advertising budget, so this is how they get new clients on board. And there's no risk to it. I mean, if you get in there and you're like, I don't like this thing at all, then don't use it. And if you're like, I don't want to give you any money, like my main goal is for you to try this system. If you don't have a system right now where you're managing money, this just works well. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check out that link, give it a shot, and let me know in the comments if you are using it, if you like it, if there's any issues that you're having with it. Let some of the other folks that are out there know. I've been getting some comments in terms of my audio quality. I'm still working on figuring that out because I'm new to YouTube, but I'll be working on trying to increase the audio and increasing just the overall quality of the videos. But it does take a lot of time to put out a short video. It takes quite a bit of time. So any support you can give by liking, subscribing, sharing, or clicking on any of the links that I have is really goes a long way. I appreciate it. Stay tuned for the next one.